Welcome to the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom Style.
Along with Lakeena and McGee, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
And I'm Lakeena McGee. You can follow me at Keita McGee on Twitter and at Keita_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this show, Second City Sports, along with our other podcast programming from We Are Regal Radio /War Media. First, go to our website at weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com. And wherever you can download your podcast, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. That's War on Anchor. Make sure you search for that as WARR on Anchor, including the iHeartRadio app. Also, we are on the Tube, a.k.a. YouTube, at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can not only listen to us, you can watch us do our thing live. Look alive!
Hello! All right.
Hello!
Hello! Or,
Yeah.
How we really screwed that up already?
It's a holiday season, folks, so we're trying to push it all through.
Yeah. Well, okay, well, don't forget to tell your friends, like and subscribe and share. Those shares are important.
Yes.
All right, Sid. So we can try to muster up the chance to preview this Bears Vikings game, and people are saying those games for all. Well, maybe not all for all the marbles, but both teams are 5-7. Vikings are coming off of disappointing loss to the Bucs, while the Bears are coming off of the impressive win, albeit against the very bad Houston Texans team. This is sort of like to keep them within the thinnest grasp of the playoff picture. So where do you see this game?
It's going to come down to the running game once again for both of these teams. I know Dalvin Cook for the Minnesota Vikings barely got over 100 yards last week, but Minnesota was playing catch-up all along to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they lost on the road. For the Bears, David Montgomery, take out that 80-yard run he had to start the game. He didn't have the greatest of games yardage-wise, but he was effective. But head coach Matt Nagy decided to throw the ball late in the game. Like you said, thank goodness they were playing an awful Houston Texas team, or else they would have lost that game too. One is going to come down to the running game. Number two, do you really trust Bears offensive coordinator Bill Lazor to muster up the same game plan as he has been mustering up for the last couple weeks? It seemed to work against Houston, but even though Minnesota's defense is different this time than it has been the last couple years, I'm not sure. I'm at a show me mode right now. I got to see it for a few more games.
I find it interesting. If you saw the presser where both Lazor and Nagy were both talking, it's kind of sort of like they're pointing at each other as to who was really doing the play calling. I mean, I'm not, like we said in the Monday podcast, I wasn't impressed with the Bears performance. I mean, okay, yeah, you just proved that you're better than the Houston Texans, who don't have a coach nor a GM. So that's not setting the bar very high. I mean, it's sort of, okay, yeah, the difference is that, okay, Mitch is going to start, whereas Foles will start in their first meeting. And, we'll see how, injuries playing into it. But, Dalvin Cook, they kind of were able to contain him for the most part, but Cousins was able to kind of not make a lot of mistakes. And if you're the Bears defense, that's what you want to do. You want to force Cousins to make those type of errant throws that he's prone to do. But I don't think they'll be able to do it. I mean, both these teams are 6-7. This is basically to kind of stay within like I said, the slimmest of playoff hopes. I mean, the Vikings are going to be upset because they feel like they should have won that game against the Bucs. They left a lot of points on the board thanks to their kicker, Dan Bailey.
Who still has a job. Interesting.
Well, I think because of COVID and everything, if even they were able to bring somebody else in, they had to go to
That's a good point. Yeah.
So it was probably just too much. Although I'm sure Zimmer has him on a short lease, I should say. Now, as for the Bears, I mean, you look at the injury situation, Mac, that back of his is still bothering him. I don't know. It hasn't affected him yet, but you got to wonder if at some point, especially in these last few games of the season, you think it will become a factor. Who knows? The Vikings defense, yeah, a lot of those guys aren't there anymore. Howard and Griffin and those guys, but it's not like they're terrible. I mean, Kendrick is questionable, so he's kind of one that kind of makes that defense ghost. So that's something to look out for too.
He's going to be a huge loss if he doesn't go on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something to look out for too. I mean, it just Harrison Smith is he made a couple big stops in their first meet with the Bears. He's still a factor. It's just, I mean, I just don't know where this game's gonna go, Sid. I just don't.
My thing is, who's going to be effective more offensively? Will it be the Bears or the Vikings? Because you're talking about two similar teams, Lakeena. That's why we're trying to draw up some comparisons here. There's really no comparison. We're basically talking about the same teams here with both of these jargonauts. Those of you listening on the podcast, I did the air quotes thing. Can Mitch Trubisky have that same performance again without making a mistake? Will Bill Lazor be allowed to call his game for the second straight week? I don't know. I know the Bears have recently had success up there in Minnesota over the last couple of years. I know that the last time they lost up there was John Fox's last year in 2017, their regular season finale. I go back to the first meeting when the Bears, if they just mustered one offensive touchdown, they would have won that game. It had to take a Cordell Patterson second half kickoff return to give them the lead briefly before everything fell apart. Now, I know I'm going out on a limb in saying this. Yeah, we'll give you our picks next hour. But I'm going out on a limb to say this. I think the Bears' offense will be better. Will it be better than last week's? I'm not sure, but I think it will be better than the meeting back in November. Now, how many points will they put up? I don't know, but I think it will be more effective this go around because they have the confidence to have a little momentum right now.
Well, I mean, both. I mean, look, it's yeah. I mean, do I expect them to be better than their first meeting? Yeah, sure. Because again, Trubisky is sort of like the difference maker on what that makes that offense go. But at the same time, though, I mean, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around how good this offense is. Yes, you saw how effective it could be, granted, against a not very good Houston defense. Now, again, we'll see if Kendrick is able to, play for the Vikings. I think he's the one that kind of is sort of the facilitator in that defense. So if he doesn't play, I mean, okay, yeah, I'll give the edge to the Bears in that sense. But, I mean, look, Dalvin Cook, I mean, they were able to kind of slow him down a little bit the first time. But you got to think that they're going to want to try to use it as much as they can to kind of keep the Bears offense off the field. Now, if you're the defense, you're kind of thinking, okay, you were able to kind of tame him in your first means, so we're going to probably make adjustments and such. But also, it's all about mood too. I mean, the Bears are, they're up and they're boasting about, hey, look, this is what we can do. But then you're going to be facing a mad Vikings team that feels that they should have won at Tampa. So it's all about sort of mindset on whose mindset will have the edge in the bigger factor here.
You're listening to Second City Sports Weekend Edition along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown as we preview the Week 15 matchup between the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Chicago Bears coming up on Sunday. Lakeena, one matchup that I'm looking forward to in this game is Justin Jefferson, the rookie wide receiver from Minnesota out of LSU. He's going to be matched up primarily against Kyle Fuller. Kyle Fuller is the best defensive back on the team. I want to see how these two will go at it. And I want to see if Eddie Jackson can pick up his play for the Chicago Bears because he can force a couple of turnovers here and there. I know he's struggled this year, but I want to see if one or both of those players will have huge games for this Bears secondary.
Well, you got to think they're due, right? I think that they've had their, especially Jackson, he's had his struggles all year. And, Fuller has been, he's been good, not great, but I think they're going to try and maybe sort of slow Jefferson down a little bit. But, I like that matchup too. I think it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be about trust. Whose offense do you trust more? Whose defense do you trust more to make the big play? And I think that's going to be the thing that's going to be the difference maker here. Who's going to make that big play to kind of keep their team right just on the edge of the playoff chase? And you look at the schedules for these, for the next, we know the Bears schedule, they play Jackson, they go at Jacksonville after this and they get the Packers at home. But you look at Minnesota schedule, they get after the Bears, they get New Orleans and they get Detroit. So for both these teams, if they want to keep the slimmest chances of their playoff hopes alive, neither of them can afford to lose this game. Now, again,
Yeah.
I just want to finish this. Now, if you're the Bears, you're sort of wondering, okay, if you're a Bears fan, you're probably thinking, okay, is this the team that we expected, the one we saw against Houston, or are we going to go back to the team that we've seen the last 6 games before that with all the losses, with those 6 losses, those 6 straight losses?
If you're a Bears fan, you better hope that it's not fool's gold. Same thing for Minnesota, even though, like you mentioned, they lost a tough one last week. It's an elimination game. Let's just say it here. For who has the most pressure, I think it's the Bears because you started the year 5-1. You had that 6-game losing streak. You still have a better chance than the Minnesota Vikings of making the playoffs. You have a better schedule in your favor than Minnesota. What did I say before in our preview show, Lakeena, before the start of the season? If the Bears were right there, the schedule in December should come back to favor them if they were in striking distance of making the playoffs. Despite what's happened for the last month, they are still right there. They have to win out, and hopefully Arizona lose one of their remaining 3 games. So I think the pressure is more on the Bears, especially after you started the year 5-1.
Well, you know how I feel about it. Even when they got to that 5-1 start, I told people, and we all told them. I said, look, this is we don't know how good this team is. I mean, I don't know how the hell they're still in it, but they're mathematically they are. I don't want them to make the playoffs because I want changes made. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put it out there because I look. This team's not good enough to be in the playoffs. This team's not good enough to be, whatever might contend for a Super Bowl or an NFC Championship. I don't think this team shouldn't even be making the playoffs because the team the way it's constructed right now, it's not it. They're not up there with New Orleans. They're not up there with the Packers. Although those teams have their flaws too. I'm not saying they don't. But I think that if out of all of it, I think the inconsistency of the offense is what worries me, and the defense has shown that they have their struggles too. So I don't want this team to make the playoffs. I want changes. I'm sorry.
If you're the McCaskies, you will wipe a big sweat off your forehead should this team make the playoffs. But like you said, Lakeena, whether they make the playoffs or not, changes should be ahead for those guys in Hallis Hall. Now, before we move on, Lakeena, assuming that the Bears will make the playoffs, do you think that they're better than the Washington football team overall? Because it looks like that team is going to win the NFC East.
Well, I think they're kind of like right there on par with them, I think.
Okay.
I mean, both their front severs are really good. I mean, their offense, they've been up and down. I mean, the struggles, Alex Smith, we'll see if he's able to play on Sunday. But I don't know. I mean, I think they're right. If they do end up playing Washington, if they end all the scenarios and all the parameters, but I don't think they're kind of on par. I'll say that. And also,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was getting ready to say that's a fair assessment right there because they may have to play them in the first round or they may have to play Seattle in that first round. But we'll get to all that should that become a pass in the next couple of weeks. Let's move on to college football, Lakeena. Even though some bowl games have been postponed, we still have a full slate of interesting headlining matchups now that is Conference Championship Saturday. We'll start local here at 11 o'clock on Saturday on Fox, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's the number 14th ranked Northwestern Wildcats taking on the number 4 seeded Ohio State Buckeyes. 2 years ago, Lakeena, Northwestern and Ohio State met up in the conference championship game. Northwestern kept it close. Ohio State blew it open in the fourth quarter, and there they went for the Big Ten title. Do you see the same scenario repeating itself, or do you think Ohio State is going to come out with all guns blazing and dominate from start to finish?
I think both could happen. I think Northwestern's got a really good defense. I mean, I don't think they're going to blow. I don't think they're going to get blown out by Ohio State out the water, but I think it's going to be close for a little bit, but I think the Ohio State's going to show that they have better talent, and that'll probably win out. And I think they're going to be hungry too. The Buckeyes will, because they didn't get a chance to play against their rivalry game against Michigan last week. So I think they're going to be ready. I think they feel as though that maybe cement your spot in the playoff by beating Northwestern, a ranked team pretty handily. So I think Ohio State will win going away handily.
For the Northwestern Wildcats, quarterback Peyton Ramsey, although he's had a good year, he kind of got back on track last week in the game against Illinois, which that was the first game they played in a couple weeks because a couple of their opponents, i.e. Minnesota, was battling COVID. But the running game for Northwestern, in particular Isaiah Brower and Drake Anderson, they have to show up as well and put pressure on that Ohio State defense. Now, going back to Peyton Ramsey for a moment, he cannot turn the ball over. In my memory right now is going back to that Michigan State loss from a few weeks ago. That offense did not play well. They had the chance to win that game. They almost were coming from behind in that last quarter against the bad Spartans team. They cannot fall behind, like you mentioned, Lakeena, against the better Ohio State team. That's a national championship contending team right there. You cannot afford to fall behind 14, 21, 28 points, because if that happens to start off the game, it's over. But I'm with you. I think Northwestern will keep it close, but they got to have a strong running game. And that Northwestern defense has to come up with at least 2 to 3 turnovers to stay in.
Yeah, I mean, look, Patty Fisher has to, try to pressure Justin Fields up front. It's a tall task. Brennan Joseph, who leads the team in 5 interceptions, he needs to have a big game too. It's a tall task against that Ohio State offense, but if Northwestern can keep it close, I think they have a decent shot, but I just don't see it happening.
I think they'll keep it sort of close, but it's all about Justin Fields for Ohio State, Lakeena, offensively. As he goes, the Buckeyes go. Of course, they had a little bit of a better team a couple of years ago when J.K. Dobbins was on there, but now it's all on Justin Fields' shoulders. If he has a good game, I think Ohio State will win it convincingly. I'm with you that Ohio State will win, even though I'm sure it's hard as hell for Northwestern here. But realistically, I think somewhere in between is going to happen. I think Ohio State, I don't think they'll be as dominant as people think they will be. I can see them win this game by 17. The final score will be different if someone didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see that.
Yeah, I agree with you. This probably won't be posted until after this game is finished, but even still, Oregon versus USC for the Pac-12 title. Now, unfortunately, Oregon got in, and if you're Washington's having COVID issues too, so they had to had to skip the game. So now Oregon gets in their place, fresh off his contract assistant head coach Mario Cristobal. Where do you see this game? Because USC, yes, they're undefeated, but no one's really talking about them for the playoff. I mean, Oregon, they've had a couple of losses, early on, but they can kind of sort of finish the season strong. So where do you see this game?
I think it's going to come down to the passing game. Kadon Slovis for USC has over 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns for the year. He's been impressive for the USC Trojans team. The running backs for both teams will be huge in this game as well. Drake London for USA, he has only 3 total touchdowns, but he has over 400 yards receiving rights. He's going to be huge. But for the running game, let's go back to Oregon and Travis Dye. He has 1 touchdown, but he has 336 yards for the year. Oregon must keep USC's defense off balance. If they can do that, they'll have a strong shot. But I think USC has a little bit better momentum right now, and I'm going with them. I'm not going to say going away, but kind of sort of be close. I can see about at least 10 to 15 points. Call me crazy.
I will say, don't be surprised this is being a high-scoring affair. Just
yeah.
This has been sort of like a slugfest between these two teams the last few years, especially. So I can see it being a kind of a high-scoring. I know USC will probably end up winning it, but if it's like 35-32 or something like that, or like 35-32, 29 or something like that, don't be surprised if we've seen these two teams play the last few years. So I went, don't be surprised if that ends up being that kind of score. All right. Next up here, you got the Big 12 title. You got Oklahoma and Iowa State. Where you see this game? That's an 11 a.m. matchup on ABC tomorrow.
I have Oklahoma here. Spencer Rattler has been playing his you-know-what-off all year, over 2,500 yards and 24 total touchdown passes. I think he's going to be the key. Iowa State, can you get him off his heels, and can you create a turnover too? If you can do that, you can stay in this game. I don't know if Iowa State can do that. We all know that they can score points as well, but can your defense come up with a big play or two? That's a big question mark for me into this game.
I know Oklahoma has revenge on their minds because they lost to Iowa State early in the year. But I think, Rattler's been playing better. That offense as a whole has been playing better. That defense actually has been pretty good. That's been sort of the thing with Lincoln Riley's team since he took over. His defense, unfortunately, has given up a lot of points, but they've done just enough. And Iowa State, Mike Rose, who's their, Iowa State's defensive player of the year. I mean, if the offense kind of keep him off balance, then I think they've got a shot. Oklahoma has a shot. And also too, I think this is gonna be one of those games where who will take more advantage of the other's mistakes. And I think it was a slugfest the first go around. Iowa State was able to to pull that off, but I think Oklahoma, it'll be a slugfest again. But I think Oklahoma will just enough to kind of get their revenge.
I agree.
All right, the ACC championship will be after that game. Notre Dame and Clemson. Probably two teams that probably already have their positions sort of lined up for the playoffs, but which scenario do you see happening?
I see Clemson winning this ball game, kind of sort of going away, but I think Notre Dame will be up to the challenge. Trevor Lawrence, who did not play in that first meeting back in early November, he's now back for the Clemson Tigers. He's leading that offense at quarterback. Ian Brock has had a nice year for the Fighting Irish, but I don't know if he can live up to the challenge once again. I think Trevor Lawrence being back in that lineup for Clemson should help the Tigers win. But even if maybe it depends on how Notre Dame loses. If they lose a close one, maybe they'll still be in that playoff picture. But if they get blown out, do you really see the committee throwing them up there in the top four? I don't. Maybe I'm just looking at it the wrong way. I don't know.
Well, I mean, especially if they end up winning, if Clemson wins by like 20 points or more, if you're the committee, you're going by eye test here, of course. Can you really in good conscience? Because people forget, not only was Trevor Lawrence not there, but Clemson was out their top two defenders. They're all back now for this matchup, with the week off and whatnot. So I think we're gonna see how big of a difference that is. And I would be surprised if Clemson ends up beating Notre Dame handily. Now, will they kick them out of the playoff, Notre Dame, because of it? I don't know, but I mean, it'll be interesting, but I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson ends up beating Notre Dame pretty handily.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Expect the Clemson defense to set the tone early. If they do, it's going to be a long day for the Fighting Irish.
Absolutely. Now we're going to go kind of off the Power Five here. You got Boise State and San Jose State for the Mountain West. Boise State, this is their fourth straight trip, and also for San Jose State, this is their first trip. So I know you probably don't watch a lot of Mountain West, but I know you.
No, I don't. You're the expert here.
Look, they've had both these teams have had interesting rivalries. It's actually been even. It's actually been even the last couple of times they played. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. Brent Brennan, who is this head coach over at San Jose State, has done a great job those last few years. So, I mean, this could be one of those. This could be a toss-up here. And I think, look, Boise State, this is sort of a struggle. This is their struggling, but they just have to win their division in the Mountain West. But I think San Jose State will be winners for Mountain West for the first time. I'm cheering for them. I'm cheering for the Spartans. These Spartans.
Well, they are favored by 6.5 points, and the over/under number is 55.5.
Right. So I think they'll be able to win it, though. I think they will. It'll be the first time winning the championships since joining the Mountain West. So good for Brett Brennan has done a great job with that program. So just amazing what he's been able to do the last few years. All right, the SEC championship. You got Alabama and Florida in Atlanta. Go.
Alabama's favored by 17 points. The over/under total here is 74.5 points. I think Alabama could score 74 points in their sleep. But with that being said, I know Florida lost a big home game to the LSU Tigers. Shout out to Lamont, his LSU Tigers. I think that stunning loss at home last week is going to carry over to this game. If they would have won it, maybe I would have given them a shot to maybe stay in it. Maybe that will still happen, but Alabama is just too strong. So I'm going with the Clemson Tide for the SEC title. They should win this game handily.
I think it's going to be close, though. I think call me cookie here, but I think Florida, they're not going to be in a very good mood after what happened against LSU, especially they lost at home when they should have won that game. But I think Alabama will win, pull away. I think sort of the same. I think the same scenario as with Clemson and Notre Dame. I think it'll be close, but I think Alabama's their talent they're gonna pull away late. I think.
Yeah, watch out for Najee Harris, the running back for the Crimson Tide. He's has over 1,000 yards for the year and 22 total rushing touchdowns. He's going to be the key to lead that Crimson Tide offense.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that this will definitely be sort of a showcase game for Brent Jones and the rest of that Tide offense. I think. All right, you got also last but not least, you got the American Athletic Championship. You got the top two teams in that conference. You got Tulsa and Cincy.
I know Cincy's been one of the surprise teams in college football all year. They're 8-0. Of course, Tulsa sneaks in there at 6-1. I'm going with Cincinnati right here. I'm looking at their quarterback's numbers. Desmond Ritter.
Yep.
He has over 1,800 yards and 16 touchdown passes. And looking at their running back, Jared Dokes,
Yep.
He has over 660 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think it's really going to come down to the running game for the Bearcats.
The cardiac hurricanes, as I called Tulsa, because they've had a couple of comebacks. Had to come back from down. I think like 10 points in like a couple of their games.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the quarterback Zach Smith. Also, Deneric Prince, I should say. He's their running back. He's had a pretty good year too. So Zaven Collins is sort of like a one-man crew on that defense. So this could be a defensive struggle. Who knows? But I'm gonna pick Cincy because they're playing in Cincy because they're the higher ranked team and also with the better record. So that's why they're playing in Cincy. They're not playing in a neutral site. So it's going to be close. Should be a fun one, too. It's going to get the prime time treatment on ABC at 7 o'clock. So
I'm shocked by that. I'm shocked they didn't put the ACC championship against the SEC championship, which is airing on CBS at the same time. I'm surprised the ABC didn't do that.
It could.
That's just me.
Well, oh God, no, it hasn't always been the afternoon. I know there were a couple of times when Clemson played in the AC championship game. It was in the prime. It could be a scheduling thing, maybe with the arena that they're playing in, the stadium they're playing in. Maybe they probably want to do kind of like an afternoon game instead of maybe doing a prime time game. It could be a scheduling thing to maybe give the American a chance to have a showcase game. Get the chance to check out that Cincy might be playing New Year's Six game. So that could be it. Could all just be like television purposes, I guess. How they are.
Yeah, sure. Everything's ruled by television and money.
Yeah, and a bummer that this game will not be played, in the Sun Belt. You got Louisiana and Coastal Carolina. Both these teams are ranked. It's unfortunate that because of COVID with in the Coastal Carolina program, they're not going to be able to play. So, I mean, if you better hope that Cincy wins, because if you're the committee, if Cincy loses, then you're kind of stuck having to bring in Coastal Carolina team. They may not be able to play.
Yeah, I was going to say Coastal Carolina is not going to play their game this weekend. That's really a bummer for their program. They've been the other surprise team in college football this year.
Yeah, just unfortunate. So we'll see what happens there. Some games, other games that have been canceled. Michigan and Iowa. Michigan still having problems with COVID. Vanderbilt and Georgia. Within their programs, there's some COVID issues there. No Florida State and Wake Forest. Also, sorry, said no Miami and Georgia Tech.
I know.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a good thing because they got their butts kicked by North Carolina last week. So.
yeah, maybe so. So yeah, I mean, so for a good slate in championship Saturday in college football. So, some bummers of some games that had to be canceled, but we still got a great slate of games here, and also the Rose Bowl. I mean, they're having problems too. Right before we get to the NBA, there's not going to be any fans in the stands. There's not going to be anybody in the stands for that matter. But because of the county restrictions, the LA County restrictions. But now there's some people that are saying that maybe they should move the game because they may not be able to hold with everything going on with COVID. So where do you think what's your opinion on what things stand with the Rose Bowl is concerned as far as that is showing?
Last time I checked, isn't the Rose Bowl part of that four-bowl game national championship playoff rotation?
Yeah.
Even though there won't be any fans in the stands this year, they're going to find some way to play their game. No, there will not be any fans in the stands. We understand that. But they'll find a way to play their game somehow. If they have to move it a day two back or ahead or whatever, they will do it. But call me crazy unless something catastrophic happens. I see them playing this game on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I've seen a lot of people say, move the game, but it's not that simple, folks. I mean, do you know how much,
Exactly.
they got to pay fees and stuff like that, and also all the other stuff, have to move things. So I just don't see that happening either. So I think they'll end up playing it. It's going to get played. And unfortunately, it's going to be, look, you're not going to have fans in the stands. There won't be no Terminal Roses parade. There won't be no pomp and circumstance that we're used to seeing. But unfortunately, that's how, look, nothing's normal this year. We should know this. So why should the Rose Bowl be any different?
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports Weekend Edition along with Miss Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. As we now wrap up our first segment, talking about the Chicago Bulls in the NBA preseason as it wraps up this weekend as of this broadcast. Of course, the Chicago Bulls will play the Oklahoma City once again tonight. But let's review their last game from Wednesday. Lakeena, the Bulls defeated the Thunder to move to 2-1 in the preseason by the score of 124-103. Kobe White led all scorers with 27 points for Chicago. He had 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Al Horford led the Thunder with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. Lakeena, we talked about this a little bit in our last podcast. And then again, before we started recording today, Patrick Williams for Chicago, yes, he's a rookie. Yes, it's going to take him some time, but watching highlights from the last preseason game, and I said this a little bit that I was asking him to do from the game last Sunday against Houston. I want to see him be more aggressive offensively. It seems like he's starting to do that now.
Well, he's showing you why he was Sixth Man of the Year in the ACC, and that's not a small feat. And that was a pretty deep Florida State team he played on. The fact that he was able to kind of, step out and, be kind of like the guy there, I think that helps a lot. Look, I think if he could show you what he's been showing you, I think he could be a star here in this league. I mean, he's a big guy. He can play, front court, and he also can play center too if you need him. So I think, look, if he can keep this up, I think you may see him in the starting lineup. Who knows? And look, Billy Donovan, especially with a short preseason, he's going to be playing around with all different combinations to sort of, see, okay, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, look, Kobe White was 11 for 17 from the field, had 27 points, like you said, to lead all scores. Look, I like what I see for Kobe. I'm liking what I'm seeing for this team. I think I'm seeing fans sort of like, kind of walk off the ledge a little bit. Thank God. I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but look, Kobe was 5 for 8 for a 3-pointer. Zach LaVine was 3 for 6. He was 50% from 3. So I think, look, we're not asking them to be East contenders. It's going to be hard. But I think if they could be kind of like right there, sort of like in the cusp of, that play-in, playoff game, however they're going to do it. But I think, look, this is sort of like a show me mode with Coach Donovan. He's going to want to see also too with AK and Mark Eversley. Okay, who can we build around? Who's a team that we can use to sort of build for the future? And I think, look, if they play like this, I mean, look, it's going to. And also make it sort of, look good for potential free agents. I mean, you got to think that the free agency is going to be a little more robust after the season, hopefully with, COVID, sort of wearing off and things recovering. So I think this is what you want to see if you're a Bulls fan.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Lakeena. That they have, sorry about that, as the Bulls, you're starting to see signs of hope for the future. I'm worried about the present, in particular 2 players, and we talked about these players in our last podcast, Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. I need both of those guys to, first of all, stay healthy. Number 2, their stats need to improve. Now, I'm not going to overreact too much because this is a preseason. It's a short preseason. But looking at the box score from the other night, yes, Markkanen had 11 points, but he only struggled. He struggled from the field, 4 of 15 shooting, including 2 of 9 from three-point range. That's not going to get it done, including only making 1 to 4 free throw attempts. That's not going to get it done. Wendell Carter Jr., who I like a lot, but his short career has been marred by injuries as well. I know Billy Donovan is giving him the green light to take three-point shots. He was 0 for 3 the other night. But as I said before, Wendell Carter Jr., he's going to be even better, I think, defensively. But I want to see him take a couple more steps in becoming that complete player offensively. I think it will eventually happen. First of all, he has to stay healthy, but I want to see him gain his confidence back, because I think that's what it is for both of these guys right now, is confidence.
I just need Wendell Carter to not play center, because that's where he's out of position. He does not.
I agree. Yeah.
He's been struggling. He's still struggling. He was 0 for 3 from three-pointer. And look, I think he has the game to do it. I think he just needs to find a position for him. He's more of a forward than a big forward than a center. So I think people need to kind of. See, my bad. See, we're both we're both kind of in this. But look, I think he needs to be more of a center. Less of a center, more of a forward. That's just not his position. So I'm a little worried about that. Lauri Markkanen is another guy I'm kind of worried about. He's a 7-footer playing, trying to be a power forward, and again, that's not it. I think Carter and him need to switch positions. Maybe they'll have better luck. I'm hoping that, Coach Donovan and the rest of the staff realizes that. But look, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing so far. Chandler Hutchinson was a big surprise. Scored 11 off the bench. I wasn't expecting that. So the consistency there. Gafford, made some big plays, defensive plays too. So I don't know. I'm kind of I think Bulls fans need to kind of temper their expectations a little bit. Just see what you got. Just see what you have. This is sort of a see what you got year, I think.
Yeah, like I said before, this is what this year is all about in 2021. What do you have going forward? Who's going to stay here moving forward as you hopefully become a playoff team and ultimately a championship team? Of course, this team is at the bottom, so they had to work their way up. Now, highlighting a couple of guys, as you mentioned, Lakeena, Daniel Gafford, he did well the other night, especially scoring-wise, coming off the bench with 8 points. And he did have a big block shot down the stretch there. 8 minutes of actually had 5 points. Chandler Hutchinson had 26 minutes. He scored 11 points, as you mentioned. I want to see what he has in store as far as this season is concerned. And Otto Porter Jr., he's starting to climb up just a little bit. He still has a little long ways to go because he hasn't played that much as he's been in the Bulls uniform the last couple of years. But hopefully, if he can stay consistent, I think he'll get more playing time. Will he be in the starting lineup? I doubt it as of right now, as you mentioned, because head coach Billy Donovan is playing with the different combinations and starting lineups in that factor. But Otto Porter Jr. could be huge for this team if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the key too, right? And also, he's playing for a contract, so
yes.
Of course he's going to do his best.
That should be all motivation in itself.
Yeah, I think he's really going to try to stay healthy. All the more reason to that he's going to try to stay healthy. So, so I'm thinking, look, I think we just need consistency from him. I think he'll get that payday, although I think someone's going to pay him regardless of what he does, as long as he stays healthy. But I'm intrigued by what's happening with him. I think he's kind of showing you that, okay, maybe he could be right there for this is to be sort of like near that second tier guy off the bench, and also so again he can get that payday.
Yeah. So who else has impressed you so far, Lakeena, in the NBA preseason, if you had a chance to catch it?
I've watched a couple of games. Look, Steph looks like himself again. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat.
Yes, he does.
That's a little scary, though, if you're in the Western Conference. 29 points, in last night's game against Sacramento. Oh, my gosh. That they, and he was off, for months like everyone else was. So the fact that he was able to he's been able to come back and look good. Look, Dylan Brooks looked really good and for Memphis in the last playoff game, in the last preseason game, I should say. James Wiseman actually looked pretty good too in that game last night against Sacramento for Golden State. I think I
want to see how he does, especially offensively. Even though Klay Thompson's not going to be there, I want to see how Wiseman does offensively, because I think they would have drafted him anyway, even if Klay Thompson didn't get hurt. You notice the Warriors haven't had a mobile big man that can score on the inside since David Lee, and he was part of that 2015 championship team. They haven't had a mobile guy who can score inside like that in a long time.
Oh yeah, I think that's why. I think they were going to pick him. I was one of those folks that felt that he was going to get picked there regardless of what happened with Clay.
Yeah.
I like you said, they haven't had that kind of like big man that could score and score the three since David Lee. So look, Wiseman fits that bill. I mean, I thought maybe he'd be a little bit rusty since he hadn't played in months. Of course, for obvious reasons. We won't hash that, but we won't rehash that. But he looks really good. I mean, I think if he could be sort of like that facilitator on the inside, that way you don't have to depend on Steph much on the outside. I think he can kind of be that guy, and I think that's why Kerr and the rest of the front office and Golden State wanted him. Oh, and for Houston, I think Houston's look pretty good too. I mean, I don't know. I know that there's a rumor that came out last night that Harden might end up going to Philly for Ben Simmons. Again, we don't, nothing's imminent. I mean, look, like I said before, nothing's imminent at this point. So I'm going by what everyone else is, what Sharman, Shelburne have said. But I mean, look, John Wall, like he hasn't skipped a beat. I mean, Eric Gordon looked really good. I mean, James Harden, I think he's, not looking like Rick Ross. I think I'm glad that, sort of one of those things there. But I mean, I don't know what to think of Houston. I mean, do I see them perhaps maybe try to get maybe Simmons and sort of try to make a playoff push? I don't know. If Harden's unhappy, is that going to be a nuisance all season? Who knows? But we'll see. Toronto's looked really good this preseason. I kind of like what I'm seeing from Toronto. I think Toronto kind of feels like a bad taste in their mouth for losing in the playoffs in the bubble. So I think they're kind of sort of on a mission. Who have you impressed? Who's impressed you so far?
Blake Griffin getting in a fight the other night.
Oh yeah, I saw that. How about that, right? That's about the playground there, like back in the day.
Ding 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 ding.
My goodness. Go on YouTube, folks. Go on YouTube, folks, if you wonder what we're talking about.
Yeah. But Phoenix a little bit with Chris Paul and Devin Booker with limited action. I think they're a playoff team. We'll have more on these teams when we do our next podcast coming up next week. But Phoenix actually impressed me a little bit. Denver, I watched a little bit of that action the other night against Portland. The late Manu Ball, his son Ball, shooting a couple of threes just like his old daddy did from back in the day. That was nice to see.
Yeah, it was really great to see, and I hope he does well. I mean, his dad was such a great player and an amazing ambassador for the league. So, I mean, I kind of, another team that's impressed me is I would have to say the Lakers. I mean, even though they're playing, sorry about that. real life. I tell you, I'm sorry, folks. Sorry, folks, who will be listening to this on the or watch this on YouTube. But sorry about that. But got thrown off here. But look, I mean, the Lakers, even though they've been playing mostly their B team, essentially, that B teams look really good, Sid. I mean, they're showing a lot of depth there. And look, we probably won't see LeBron too much. He's probably going to end up playing like maybe 2/3 of the season because of the fact that they just didn't play that too long ago, and also because of his age. But Kyle Kuzma's looked really good. Although Marc Gasol kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm a little concerned about that. But Montrezl Harrell will show you why he was Sixth Man of the Year last year. So I'm actually impressed by the Lakers and what I've seen so far from them.
Real quick before we close out this segment, I want to get your thoughts about Giannis Antetokounmpo, the superstar for the Milwaukee Bucks. He signs his 5-year supermax deal worth $228.5 million. If he didn't sign before the season started, he would still had the choice to sign it at the beginning of free agency or after the season over the summer. Were you surprised that he signed it quote unquote this soon? Or did you think that he would have played out the season and wait to see what happens?
I thought he was going to go with the latter. I thought he was going to wait till the season goes, see if maybe they go far, maybe they made it back to the finals and such. I think that's probably. I'm kind of surprised that he, signed his extension as quick as he did. But I think he wants to show people that he is committed to playing in Milwaukee, and he wants to see where it goes, building a potential championship contender. I could kind of see it. I mean, look, we talked to our good buddy Caitlin Sharkley, who covered Giannis for years before she came here. Of course, Fox News Chicago, now, but she was working up in Milwaukee beforehand. So she said that, look, he's actually one of the nicest guys. So I'm actually not we actually shouldn't be surprised that he went this route by signing early as he did. But I would have thought maybe he probably would have played out the market a little bit. But I think this shows Bucs fans that he is committed to playing there. Also, they just gotta help him deliver a championship and help build around him.
Yes, even though Milwaukee Bucks management can breathe a sigh of relief, but they still have work to do. One, they have to is not a question of if, it's a matter of when. WHEN, when they get rid of head coach Mike Budenholzer. I'm not a big fan of his. Go back to what happened 2 years ago in that Eastern Conference Final Series against Toronto, especially blowing a 2-0 series lead. And of course, last year they weren't tough enough against a very good Miami team that reached the NBA Finals. So that's the next order of business they have to do, is look for a new head coach and put a better talent or a talented group, especially a few guys with some toughness around Giannis. Because the Eastern Conference folks this year, like I said, we'll get more into it in our next episode coming up next week. But this Eastern Conference is no joke. It's not the LeBron James bad Cleveland Cavaliers led Eastern Conference anymore, folks. This is a brand new day.
Also true. Look, Drew Holiday, he's been to a couple of All-Stars. He is terrific, but he is just, he's not that number 2 guy that Giannis needs to kind of be that guy. So to be his Batman to Giannis' Batman to his Robin, he's just not like that. So I'm hoping that maybe the Bucks can kind of invest in getting a true number 2 guy to be around Giannis, and sort of so that Giannis won't have to do so much. So that's the thing I'm kind of worried about if you're a Bucks fan. So, but you got a little bit of time now. He's Giannis is showing that he's committed. So we'll see what happens. All right. So that's our. Sorry about this, folks, but we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna have a surprise guest, coming up on the second half hour. Also, we'll have our NFL Week 15 picks, Sid.
Yes, and I'll ask you who's leading when we come back, and plus we'll have our special guest to talk about everything Chicago sports and everything else in between. It's going to be a fun-filled second segment. You're listening to the weekend edition of Second City Sports, Zoom style.
Zoom style, and I have no idea who this person is, so you're going to be surprised as I am. So we'll be right back.
Welcome back to our second segment of the weekend edition of Second City Sports, Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakeena McGee, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this show, Second City Sports Podcast, along with our other podcast programming from War Media. You can go to our website at www.weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. And you can also find us on the Tube, a.k.a. YouTube, at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the page.
Absolutely, because get those likes up, folks. Get them up, get them up, get them up.
Yes. And to join us for the entire hour in our second segment, he's a producer down at ESPN 1000 in Chicago. He was an instructor at the Illinois Media School. He has produced great hosts such as David Kaplan, Pat Boyle, friend of the program, John the Hood, now with Chris Blake and Alan Badala at nights. Let's welcome in Mr. Eric Ostrowski. Eric, how's it going? Welcome to the program.
All right, guys. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And I'm proud to say that.
And where can people follow you on social media?
So on Twitter, it's EricO312, and then it's the same on Instagram.
And also,
all right, Lakeena, let's.
All right, I'm proud to say that I knew Eric. We are from Untitled Illinois Media School, so he's doing big things as I knew he would. So I'm so happy for him and all his success.
Appreciate that. Lakeena and I go back. We do.
Oh,
We've known each other for some time.
Yes, we have. So, definitely. All right, so our NFL Week 15, guys. We're already in Week 15. It's that this with everything going on. It seems like the NFL season has gone even quicker than it has in previous years. It's crazy. But Sid, we're right back where we were, Sid. I mean, you're still up by like 2 games, and I lost the game too. So Lamont's like right there in the middle. So we're basically back where we started 2 weeks ago.
Well, this is new, huh?
No,
As long as your boy is on top.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. All right, so this time of year, guys, we got Saturday games. Both these games we exclusively on NFL.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love this time of year. So first up, the Saturday slate, you got Buffalo and the Denver Broncos. So Sid, why don't you go first?
Buffalo's coming off a big win last week in front of a national audience against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. I think they'll have a slip up a little bit, but I think they'll do enough to win. Josh Allen, this is his first time traveling to Denver, playing at altitude at Mile High against the Broncos. Denver's defense is still good. Their running game is still formidable. I think those will be the 2 elements that will keep Denver in this game, but I think Buffalo will have enough to win this game. Of course, they're on pace to perhaps get the number 2 seed because Pittsburgh, who they beat in Kansas City, are battling for the number 1 seed in the AFC.
What about you, Eric?
I believe Buffalo's gonna win this game, and I'd say they win it fairly easily. I think that Josh Allen and that offense, I think they're rolling. I think that their play callers doing a great job. I think Josh Allen's grown, and I don't see Denver being able to keep up with the points. Even though Denver's D is good, I think Buffalo will get theirs, and Denver's offense won't keep up.
I want to see how Allen does in the altitude. We haven't seen him play in the altitude yet, so I'm a little curious to see how he does it. But I think the Bills will. I think Denver. I think will keep it close for a little bit, but I think Buffalo will pull away late, and so does Lamont. Lamont also has Buffalo. All right, the Saturday nighter here. You got the Panthers and the Packers. Hoping, if you're a Bears fan, hoping that the Panthers pull off the upset, but I don't see it happening. I'm gonna say the Packers. Look, they need to keep that number 1 seed with the only bye. So I think they're gonna beat the Panthers. I think they're gonna beat them pretty handily.
I have the Packers as well.
Hard to disagree. Aaron Rodgers, primetime. Sign me up. He's winning.
Exactly. Also, Lamont's got the Packers as well. All right. So back in the day, the first or Sunday games, back in the day, this was a really big rivalry. Especially they were playing for spots in the Super Bowl, for the NFC Championship, but not so much this year. San Francisco and Dallas. Eric, why don't you start first on this one?
San Francisco, Dallas. This is this is a hard game to pick, actually. San Francisco, Dallas. I'd say San Francisco expectations coming in were great. They got decimated all year. I'll take Dallas in this game, but I think it's be close. I think it's a really tough game to pick. I don't really love either team at this point. And it's hard to read teams when they clearly have nothing to play for at this point. And both teams, I mean, Dallas has this crazy outside chance because the NFC East, but that's neither here nor there. I don't really see much coming out of it, and I'll see Dallas and that offense will be able to keep up and score more points.
You're taking me back to my childhood, Lakeena, back to 93,
Right.
94, when I was actually mad at Dave Wannstedt and the Bears, and I switched my allegiance to Dallas, but that's a whole nother issue. I don't like this pick, but these are 2 bad teams. I know both teams had expectations coming into the season, but this is what happens when you have injuries and not enough depth on your roster. I'm going with San Francisco.
I have San Fran too, just because I think quality-wise, talent-wise, from top to bottom, they think they have a better roster, and so does Lamont. He has San Fran as well. All right, an intriguing one here. You got Seattle and Washington. Sid?
I think Washington is going to keep this close because the game is more important to them than to Seattle is. Washington has a front 4, as we mentioned before, Lakeena, and plus they had the NFC East title within their grasp, especially with the Giants slipping up last week with the loss against Arizona. Seattle, last time they came to the East Coast, they lost a shootout to the Buffalo Bills, but I think things are going to be a little bit different this time. I see Washington keeping it close, but I think Seattle's going to come out with the win.
Eric?
This is actually a really good game. So kind of teams trending in opposite directions. Washington football team's really been playing well, been playing their best football. And then we've watched the Seahawks start hot and kind of fade, and in my opinion, come back to reality on what their team actually is with their defense and their front line. What the Washington football team's been doing these last, I'd say, 3-4 weeks with their front four on D is actually really special stuff. Like, there's some real things going on there, and I think that I'm actually going to take – I'll say Washington takes this game. I do. I just think they're a better all-around team. Russell Wilson is top 3 guy in the league, really. But all around, I think that Washington's a better team. They're playing better football right now.
And also, too, just for a note, though, Dwayne Haskins will be starting because Alex Smith will be out because of the calf injury. So something to look out for there. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a tough one for me. But I think because they're home, and I think, like Eric said, they got more to play for, I'm going to pick Washington, too. I think they need to win this game to sort of keep in front of the NFC East, as bad as it is. But I'm gonna pick Washington here. All right. Oh, and Lamar has Seattle, actually, so he's right there with you, Sid. All right. Next up, we got the Patriots and the Dolphins. Pretty good game here in the AFC East. Why don't you go first this time, Eric?
All right. So as we know, Bill Belichick always beats his assistants that are head coaches. He's got a track record of it. I think Brian Flores might be the best of those guys that have come out. I really believe in him as a coach. And with that defense, Miami's defense versus New England's offense, if you want to call it that, it's a clear mismatch. I don't see how New England scores more than 2 touchdowns even. Miami's going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it pretty handily.
I'll piggyback off your point, Eric, about Brian Flores. You saw what he did last year in the regular season finale against Tom Brady, and that altered the course of that team's lack of success in the playoffs. The first meeting go around, Ryan Fitzpatrick was quarterback in that team. Yeah. Right now it's Tua Tagovailoa. You don't need him to do much, but I think he'll do enough along with that running game for the Dolphins to win. So I'm picking Miami to win. And plus, with Oakland losing on Las Vegas losing on Thursday night, Miami can seize the opportunity to take us another step forward to perhaps clinching the last playoff spot in the AFC wild card.
It seems like Flores will probably have Bill Belichick's number after Sunday, so I'm right there with you guys. I'm picking Miami. Look, the defense will smother Cam Newton. I mean, Belichick may have to take him out. So, and Tua will probably do just enough to win. That Patriots defense is non-existent. So, Dolphins will win this and will win it handily. And so, Lamont agrees. He also picks Miami. All right. Jags and Ravens. Ravens coming off that big win against Cleveland on Monday night. Sid, you start.
Do you believe Baltimore's quarterback Lamar Jackson had cramps? For those of you listening exclusively on the podcast, I did my air quotes there. Despite having his cramps, he had a great performance toward the end there, like you mentioned, against Cleveland, Lakeena, with that victory. And now with Las Vegas losing on Thursday night, I think Baltimore's in that driver's seat now. They still have an outside chance. I know they had to have Indianapolis or Miami struggle, but they have the best chance and the best schedule in their favor moving forward. It shouldn't be no problem. They should take care of the Jaguars. So I have Baltimore winning.
Eric?
I actually completely agree with you. I think Baltimore has the easiest stretch here to wrap up the season out of all those teams that are fighting right there at the bottom of the AFC. And I think that they're going to continue to roll, and they'll easily beat Jacksonville comfortably. And no, I think he had to poop.
Look, we all agree. We all agree. Look, we've all had that look. We've all had that sprint. We've all had that. So cramps. Okay, Lamar. Okay. All right. Okay. With that said, on a serious note, though, but I think, like you guys said, I mean, the Ravens have the easiest schedule these last few weeks. They know they just as long as they keep winning, they'll have a shot, and I think they'll beat the Jags. They'll beat handily. They shouldn't with no problem. They should never have a problem. And Lamont agrees. He picks Baltimore as well. All right, in the NFC South, we got Bucks and Falcons. Eric, why don't you start?
I think this game's going to be closer than the average football fan would look at it. I think a lot of people would look at it and say that Tampa is easily the better team, but Atlanta's frisky. Even though their record's not great, they're in games almost all the time, and it takes Matt Ryan making a similar mistake over and over again for them to lose. I think Tampa will win, but I think it'll be a closer game than most people expect.
Sid?
Yeah, Tom Brady cannot turn the football over. He has to have a better performance. He sort of had a good performance last week against Minnesota. The Tampa Bay's running game actually got back on track. They need to do the same thing here on the road in Atlanta. I think they'll have enough to get the job done. So I'm going with Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know the Falcons are feisty, so I think they'll keep it close. But talent-wise, Tampa has the better overall talent, and I think they'll pull away late here. And Lamont agrees. He also has Tampa. All right, you got Detroit and the Titans.
Tennessee next.
Okay, Eric.
You don't like the good vibes that Detroit's feeling right now?
They're not playing the Bears.
Exactly. It's easy to get some good vibes when you're playing the Bears. Yeah, no, I think Tennessee will win. I think Matthew Stafford will continue to play well, but I think that Tennessee and Derrick Henry and that defense, and I'm a big Vrabel fan. I think he's one of the better coaches in the league as well. So yeah, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, I'm with you guys. I think Tennessee and easily, and so is Lamont. He also has Tennessee. All right, Houston, Indy, sort of the same thing. We're all picking the Colts.
Agree.
Yep, lock it in.
All right, and also Lamont also picked the
Not
Colts.
much to say.
Yeah,
Houston's a bad team.
Yeah, let's say save the Miz for the first game, the 3:00 slate. You got the Eagles and the Cardinals. Eric, why don't you start?
It's a fun game. Kyler versus Hurts. That's a lot of fun. I don't know how you guys feel about Arizona, but I think that they're not as good as I think. A lot of people hype them more than they really are. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a bad coach. I think Kyler Murray's terrific, but he's held back by his coach a lot. That said, Philly has looked awful as well, and Doug Peterson has looked like not a very good coach. Hurst kind of gave them a shot in the arm. This is a tough game to pick, actually. I'm gonna take Philly, but not confidently, and I think it'll be a close game.
First of all, Eric, I was the first one on this program to pick Arizona to go to the playoffs. I'll stick to that, but I'm with you. They haven't played well lately. I know they had a big victory against a bad Giants team last week, but they struggled over the last month. I like Kyler Murray too, but let's be honest, he's not healthy right now. On the other side, I watched that whole game last week between Philly and the Saints. Philly caught the Saints off guard, and that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Philadelphia is going to do the same thing to Arizona again, but I'm with you. It's going to be a very good game. I'm going with you. I'm taking Philly in an upset.
I was one of those people too that was high in Arizona. I'll admit it to Eric this early in the season.
A lot of people are, and it's because of Kyler. He's so fun to watch, and he's great. And like you said, he's clearly not healthy. Yeah,
he's you can tell by the way in the game against the Giants, he's not. Well, who is though this time of year though? But I mean, gosh, this is another tough one. Jeez, I'm gonna pick Arizona in a close one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hurts somehow leads the Eagles to a sort of a minor upset. And Lamont also picks Arizona too. So we're both on our little Arizona island here. Jets and Rams. Yeah, Rams.
Yeah, I mean, Rams 0-16. The Jets, that's almost lock it in 0-16 for the Jets. So, yes, Rams in this game.
Oh, yes, you guys scared for a second there. Sid, how about you? Rams?
I think the question is, will the Jets be able to cover wherever the line is? But I'm going with the Rams as far as the victory is concerned.
I'll say, I don't know what the line. I think it's like 12, 12 and a half. So you can pick whoever you want to pick the over-under. But I'm picking the Rams, too, and so is Lamont. He's also picking the Rams. All right, folks, probably the game of the year, perhaps maybe a Super Bowl preview, maybe. We'll see. Chiefs and Saints. Also, Drew Brees will be playing, so that definitely helps a little bit. So, Sid, I'll start with you. Where do you see this game?
I have the New Orleans Saints winning in the close one, but I caution the New Orleans Saints this. You better not get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes, because if you do, you're going to lose the ball game. What has been the formula for the Saints' success this season? Not letting Drew Brees throw the deep ball a lot and let Alvin Kamara control your run game. Their defense, even though it's been hit hard by injuries and inconsistent play in various spots this season, the Saints' defense is still pretty good. Let's see if they can create a turnover or two on Patrick Mahomes. If they can, I think they'll win this one going away. But I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect. So I'm taking the Saints about 3 to 4 points at home.
What about you, Eric?
Wow. I think Kansas City is going to win this game, but start with New Orleans. I think that with Drew Brees returning, expect like Alvin Kamara to get more involved again. Because if you notice with Taysom Hill, his numbers and his passes, like his screens, all that stuff dropped.
Yeah.
And I think that affected their offense too, because he is one of the best weapons in the league.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees loves him, so expect him to get involved. And if he gets going, then I think we have a ball game. But I think he has to really get going. And this Kansas City team is the best team in the NFL, and I will take them. It's gonna be a great game, but I will take them.
I've been back and forth on this. Like you said, Eric, I think we are going to be seeing more Alvin Kamara, now that Breeze is back. Also, because they're at home. If this was the Arrowhead and they were playing in the elements, I probably would give the advantage to the Chiefs. But since it's going to be at home, I'm going to pick the Saints. I think the Saints will do just enough. I think the defense will just enough. If they can force Mahomes, the Raiders and the Dolphins gave you the formula. So if they can follow that formula on their defensive side, I think they can pull it off. It might come down to a field goal, who knows, but I think that the Saints win it. But I think I only pick them because they're at home. And you know how Lamont feels about the Saints, guys, so he's picking the Saints.
Go figure.
Yeah, I mean that's not a really big stretch here.
This could be the best game of the year so far.
Yeah.
It depends how it plays out. Like Monday night ended up being awesome, but this could be the best game of the year so far.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. So it should be a fun one. It'll be seen nationally on CBS. We'll get the game here in Chicago. So everyone will get a chance.
How excited Romo is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, he's gonna be gushing about Mahomes and Breeze. You know he's gonna be doing that. You know he's gonna do it. We love him for that. Okay, Sunday night right here, you got the Browns and the Giants.
Where are we at? Sorry. Browns and the Giants. This is actually like a tougher game than people realize, because what the Giants do well is they stop the run.
Yeah.
And what do the Browns do well? They run the ball. Baker Mayfield isn't going to drop back and pick anyone apart. That's not how he is. And they figured it out. And the reason they're playing so well is because the play caller has made that offense take in the right way. And they've got two very talented running backs. This is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be one of those physical games. I don't see both teams scoring more than 24 points or something. I see it low scoring, but I will take the Browns to continue on their run here. Maybe first was a double-digit season, and I don't even know how long, but they're going to smell it and get it, I think.
I'm going with Cleveland as well. I don't know who's going to start at quarterback for the New York Giants. Will it be the injured Daniel Jones, who did not look good last week, or will they go back to Colt McCoy? That's the question here. Like you mentioned, Eric, the Browns are overall better team, and they should not be discouraged of what happened on Monday night. That could have happened to any team. Like you say, with this win here, they'll clinch their first 10-win season plus winning season since 2007. And they're going to be a formidable team to look forward to in the playoffs. I'm going with Cleveland here.
Cleveland, they're just better talent-wise. I like what Baker Mayfield's doing. I like that the running back tandem. I think Jarvis Landry. I think their defense doesn't get as much credit as they should. I mean, they're kind of opportunistic too, so we'll see if they can take the opportunities. Whoever ends up being the quarterback for the Giants on Sunday night. So we'll see. But I think Cleveland has it. Also, Lamont agrees. And we can go ahead and skip this Monday nighter, and I'm sure ESPN wishes they could. That's why they want more flexibility on Monday night slate. Pittsburgh and Bengals. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Steelers.
All right,
Steelers,
yeah, Lamont Pitts Pittsburgh as well. So that's over with and done with there. Last but not least, Bears and Vikings. Eric, I'll start off with you. Where do you see this game?
This is a tougher game. This is a close to a coin toss game. The Bears have found a rhythm. Whether what it means or anything at all, it's really, we can have a whole nother conversation on that. I still don't believe in this Bears team, and I think it's too much of an uphill battle. I think Minnesota wins this game. I think Dalvin Cook, with the absence of Eddie Goldman, it's been clear that you can run in between the tackles, in the A and B gaps, and Dalvin Cook, I think, will shred them, and I think the Bears offense may come back to life a little bit, or back down to earth a little bit.
I think the Bears offense will perform better than they did on Monday night back in November, putting up 13 points thanks to Cordell Patterson's special teams return for a touchdown there.
Right.
I got to see more from this Bill Lazor now led offense from the Bears for me to go back on the bandwagon again. For those reasons alone, I'm going with Minnesota.
Screen's going to be out. Jeff, your good buddy and your colleague, Eric Jeff Tissiker for ESPN Chicago, just tweeted that Buster Screen's going to be out because of concussion still, and also Jalen Johnson and Deion Bush are both questionable too. With Jalen Johnson with the shoulder injury he suffered against the Texans, also Deion Bush has been battling a foot injury the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna pick the Vikings too. I just don't believe in this Bears team. I think that performance last week was a mirage. I've been saying it for days now. I just don't trust this Bears team. I think Minnesota will want it more. I'm sure the Bears want it too, but I think overall the Vikings are not going to be in a very good mood because they feel like they lost that game against the Bucs. They should not have lost that game, they feel. So it's going to be the Vikings. I think they win, although I think the Bears will keep it close like it was in their first meeting, but the Vikings will just enough to win the game. And also Lamont agrees, so he picks the Vikings too. So we'll see what happens on Sunday.
All right,
Wow.
those are week.
Bears got swept by us there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not the first time. Not the first time it's happened this season either, Eric.
Understandably so.
And those of our week 15 and
those are week 15 NFL picks. So we're here with Sid will be back in a little bit. He's as you can see, he froze on us, Eric. But
Yep.
All right. So what's your sort of your realistic synopsis of what the Bears could do in these last
do you
20
think they
weeks?
were overrated?
No, go ahead.
Sid,
So
you cut out for a while.
yeah,
and
I
you
was
just
say
came back.
yeah. Reset, Sid. Eric.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I was asking Eric about the Chicago Bears 5-1 start. What was your take on that team at that time? Were you a believer in this team perhaps making the playoffs, or did you think that this team was overrated? And what are your feelings about this team now?
Okay, so when they were 5-1, I was definitely in that boat that this is fool's gold. Do not believe in this. What has this offense proven to anyone yet? There was no rhythm. There was no sort of balanced play calling. It wasn't a team that I believed in. It was a team that got so many lucky wins. I mean, let's be honest, so many. Either luck fell their way or luck for the other team fell out of their way. So we saw plenty of things happen. I didn't believe in them then. I think that their record, I went into the season to say that I thought they were going to be 7-9 because I didn't believe in this offense to begin with. With the defense regressing a little bit, which has happened, which I'm not going to believe. The defense has gotten worse, and that may be a Pagano thing. It's a health thing. I don't think that they are, a top 5 defense like people say they are. They're top 10. I don't believe in the offense at all. I don't think that Mitch Trubisky's great. And I'm someone who screens calls all day at work on a radio station for Chicago. And I hear so many people after one game with the Texans that believe in Mitch Trubisky, that think that all right, he's back, he's good, this is it. You have to, in my opinion, until this offense shows something against a good team, which they have not done in 2 years, then I'm not going to believe in this offense. So that's where I stand. I think they're majority of the league, they're a right around 500 football team.
Well, we've all felt this way about the Bears. Now, should they lose out or should they lose maybe one or the next 3 games, do you think changes will be afoot, Eric? I mean, we know how the McCaskies are, so do you see them making any changes? Do you see them making any changes?
It's I'm not one to root for them not to win, but if you're 10,000-foot view looking down, it's better if they don't because I'm scared. And the only reason is because I want change. That's the only reason I have that thought in my head. And I'm afraid that if they make this run and beat Green Bay in the last week, because the other two this Minnesota game's winnable and they should beat Jacksonville. So if they beat Green Bay and they make it, I'm worried the McCaskies will not make change. And I don't know what if things stay the same, I have no expectations for this team then again. So I just want change. That's why.
Assuming that we get our wish, Eric, as far as changes are concerned with the Bears coaching staff and perhaps front office, should the Bears not make the playoffs this year, who would your top candidates would be to replace Ryan Pace and to get this team back on the right track?
It's a tough one. There's a guy in Buffalo that is one of the assistant GMs, and then the San Diego has an assistant GM. It's really, honestly, I wouldn't be someone who would know the right name to pluck for that. I think the question is how will the McCaskies go about if that is the decision? Because I think Ryan Pace has done a bad job, and I think he needs to go. I think Matt Nagy has not done as bad as job as Ryan Pace, but if the GM goes, I don't think they should do the whole bring the GM and force the head coach on him thing again. That did not work out with John Fox. But I'm just curious on what the McCaskies and Ted Phillips, who is a part of that room somehow still, what they'll do to make this coaching to GM decision. Will they just hire advisors again who have nothing? So they come in, make a suggestion, and leave. Like, there's no skin in the game for them. So what do they really care and look long term and who's going to be right and wrong? I'm talking about like what they did with Ernie Accorsi. That was one of the guys who brought in Ryan Pace. So I'm worried about. I was worried about the process that Ryan Pace has come out with his draft strategy with Mitch Trubisky. I'm worried about the process that the McCaskies and Ted Phillips and the owners of the team have for hiring a football guy. So I would love for a VP and then a GM, but I don't like that would be my ideal situation.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen like some Bears fans say they want Theo to perhaps maybe run the Bears, be the VP for the Bears. Like, I wouldn't want to wish that on him at this point. So, especially with everything else. But what about coaching though? Who you think should be a coach that the Bears should look at? Should they decide to, give the hook to Nagy?
So you hear Eric Bieniemy is super probably like the word is he's going to Houston. He wants to coach Deshaun Watson. That's going to be a fun matchup to see going down for years. That's the guy. The offensive coordinator in Buffalo is getting a lot of talks. I say his name wrong, so I don't want to try and say it. I don't want to offend people. He is very great as well. Again, I'm not set on. Are you guys one of those people where it has to be an offensive head coach?
Oh no, not me. I can't speak for Sid, but I'm not. I mean, whoever can, who is competent. I want someone who is competent that can coach an NFL team. I don't care. He can come from. What about college? You guys think do you like he should come from the college ranks? I've heard Pat Fitzgerald's names being flown around and Jim Harbaugh's names being thrown. I mean, come on, guys, let's not go a little too far. Sid, what about you?
I don't think college would be a great idea. Like you mentioned, I heard the name Pat Fitzgerald. I can see I can see the idea why if you starting to rebuild this team from the ground up, then yeah, I will go that route. But I don't know. The McCaskies is going to basically make moves to quote unquote tear this thing down to bring in a young college coach. So I don't see them going in that direction. For me, I don't care if it's an offensive coach or defensive coach either. Just have our offense be better, unlike it's been. We brought him here to fix the offense. It hasn't been fixed. You've been riding that defense, and we've seen the dividends of that now.
That's absolutely right, though. Like, we have not seen any improvement in this offense, and it falls on three people: Ryan Pace, the quarterback that he selected, and then the play caller who has been unable to adapt his offense to the quarterback and the offensive type. It's going to be, I just hope for change. That's all I am. And I'm not that confident that we're going to get it, but proof is in the pudding and it hasn't worked.
Sid?
You're listening to the weekend edition of Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. We're joined by Eric Ostrowski, producer at ESPN Radio 1000 in Chicago, WMVP AM. Now your new radio home for the Chicago White Sox. Eric, let's go to baseball. Since I mentioned the White Sox that hired Tony La Russa, too much of the chagrin of some White Sox fans, they didn't like the idea because here's this quote-unquote old man managing a young team, and he quote-unquote doesn't know what's going on in today's game. Where do you stand on that move? And we'll talk about this in a minute, but based on a couple of early moves that the White Sox have made as far as free agency and the trade is concerned, this looks like it's a World Series of bust type situation.
They have absolutely changed the tone on what their expectations are. Before they were building, it's been building. These moves we're going. Like, this is it. We're making moves. We've got rid of one of our exciting prospects because we saw a hole in the rotation. We need depth, and they brought in an innings eater. Lance Lynn just gobbles up innings. He's led the league in innings pitched multiple times.
Yep.
They're, like you said, they're in to win. I think the Adam Eaton contract was one of those when you at first blush. For us getting the White Sox at the station's great. I'm been a White Sox fan my whole life. Like so I'm a White Sox fan. Let me get that out there first.
So am I. So we're in the
Yeah,
same
I'll say
boat.
you guys are a good company. You guys are good.
There we go.
Kitchen spirits
So the
here.
Eaton signing at first was like, ugh, like this guy again, like he was annoying. And then you saw the contract, which is tiny. And then I started thinking about it and talking to more and more people. Do you think that Rick Hahn has always been in touch with this clubhouse and the guys that he is bringing in? Do you think that he would bring in Adam Eaton if Jose Abreu didn't want him in the locker room? Or if of guys that were there before, which Abreu may be the only one, I don't think that Adam Eaton would be in this clubhouse, which that's the people are worried about, is that he was disliked when he was here. If Jose Abreu didn't want him in this locker room, he wouldn't be. So I think there's no problem with it. I think it was kind of a risk-free, other than the personality thing, contract. And then the Tony La Russa that you brought up. Same thing almost. First blush, I was like, really? Like what has he been doing lately? And then you look into it, and he's been working in front offices, and what he's been doing in front offices is using analytics and then his baseball mind to help generate ideas. And like, I think baseball's gone too analytic. First off, I think it's gone way too far one way. It's made the game hard to watch. First off, in general, entertainment-wise, it's kind of ruined that. And two, it's made managers in playoff situations where those large number sizes don't necessarily matter for that single small moment. It's made them make decisions that have been really head-scratching. So the more I've thought about it, it's another, like you said, it's another we're all in. Like, La Russa's going to coach 2 years, maybe. We want to try to win it with these 2 years and then I think Miguel Cairo will be their bench manager. I think he'll be the guy that's going to come up and end up managing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're right. It's chips in the middle of the table now. It really is for them.
What are the moves do you think the White Sox have to make or need to make? Because Kyle Schwarber's out there now. I think he'd be a better fit than Eloy, because that way I don't have to freak out when Eloy jumps in the stands while trying to field a fly ball. I can't take it, Eric. I can't. But yeah, you got some other guys, floating around. Maybe another starter, maybe a middle relief guy. What's your dream, wish list for the White Sox?
A better right fielder, but that's clearly not going to happen. You see, they want to go with a platoon with Engel, who, Adam Engel had a good year. He did, and he had a good COVID 2020 baseball season. And him and Adam Eaton will platoon, but I really wanted like a Michael Brantley or a big stick in that right field. At this point, if you just build bullpen depth, I think that they need another DH. If they could get a DH as well to help spell Abreu and let him, like, things like that, that'd be great. But I don't know much more other than just building pitching depth at this point, what that roster needs. The lineup's great, and get your Schwarber out of here. I do not want that 240 player. Get out of here again. That's crazy. I know he drives me nuts in the outfield. That's fine. That's why maybe another corner outfielder that I was hoping they'd get that wasn't Adam Eaton would maybe help that rotation, and he could DH some. But no, I think it's just finding arms now, because you have a lineup, and once you have that lineup, the next step is finding arms, both bullpen and rotation depth. You need 7 starters to get through a real season and have 5 or 4 legitimate starters by playoffs. So they have to build arm depth and then just make a run at it. Let that lineup do what that lineup can do.
Yeah, speaking of the pitching rotation, Eric, are you in favor of the Sox looking into perhaps bringing Jose Quintana back, or at least looking at James Paxton from the New York Yankees, or who would you like to see filling that 5th starter spot until perhaps Michael Kopech gets back in perhaps June or July? Because it looks like he'll probably start the year in the minor leagues.
Yeah, both of those names I'm fine with. I think I would take Paxton over Quintana. But I'm not against Quintana. I think Quintana, again, when healthy, eats innings. And he went to the Cubs with expectations that weren't realistic. He was solid for the White Sox. And I think if he's healthy, he can eat innings. But I would rather have Paxton over Quintana, but I would not be against him. Again, you need 6. You need someone who can go 6-7 innings and just gobble up stuff so we don't roll in bullpens. And he would help in that situation.
Yeah, I mean that bullpen though. I mean, it was sort of up and down, and later on in the season going to the playoffs, they kind of let them down. But I mean, what names are you thinking though for that bullpen depth? I mean, there are a lot of names out there, sort of, the guys that can eat innings like Lance Lynn, they were able to get.
Sorry, what? I didn't hear it.
I mean, I was asking, like, Wolf, what names out there for the bullpen that you want to kind of, eat up those innings for the Sox?
I mean, I don't really, honestly, I don't have like names. I don't know who's really free agent. I have to pull up a list and I can go through it and look through my list. I don't have something like that in front of me. But it really, like, I believe Column A is a closer. I think, like getting a couple arms back. I don't know. I don't have a name for it. I'll be frank. That's fine.
It's okay. That's okay. Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, going back to Tony La Russa for a moment, Eric, we had on Josh Nelson from Sox Machine on our podcast last week, and we discussed with him about there could be a potential power struggle between him and Rick Hahn. Of course, we all know that both of them have to work together to help get this team eventually to a World Series. Well, first they have to win the AL Central. What do you feel that might happen there? Because let's be honest here, especially the Lance Lynn move, they had Tony La Russa's name written all over it. And we all know that Rick Hahn, if you watched his press conference when they hired La Russa, he did not have a good look on his face. Do you think there's potential power struggle there between those two gentlemen?
They're absolutely. First off, shout out Josh. I like Josh. Josh is my guy. Absolutely.
Yeah,
he's great.
We love him too.
Yes, he's the best. Yes.
Yes. And when you watch that press conference of the La Russa hiring, you absolutely were like, wow, Reinsdorf castrated Rick Hahn. Rick Hahn has done all this good. He has built this rebuild with him. I mean, he's got his fingerprints all over it. And then that one big head coaching move was clearly a Reinsdorf move. It was one of those where Rick had to just feel gutted by it. I really believe so. And to say that the potential where if Rick and La Russa are on opposite sides on someone and La Russa goes to Jerry, we can't say that's not in the cards, which it worries you. You don't know, maybe there's an agreement, maybe they've had that discussion, maybe that was part of the discussion with bringing him in because there's that weird clear friendship and demographic and going in there. But to say that it can't happen, it's possible. It really is. It's something that I'm afraid of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all White Sox fans, and I am too, agree that. Do you wonder? Okay, yeah, the Lynn move was definitely La Russa move, but then if Hahn wants to bring in somebody and La Russa says he doesn't want to do it, he'll listen to Jerry. So I'm hoping that this doesn't come to that. I hope that everybody kind of work together and there is no power struggle. But that's the thing that really worries me and should worry White Sox fans.
I think the Lynn move was a really good move. So it may have been Hahn, it may have been La Russa, but maybe because of obviously the history with La Russa and Lynn, that he knew the guy, but I thought it was a really good move. I think that move will pay off just because of the type of pitcher he is. So we'll see going forward. We will. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, body language says it all. So let's go to the hardwood now and talk some Bulls. Sid and I were talking about it just before you came on about how great they look in the last couple of preseason games. Patrick Williams, who I've been high on, I know Bulls fans were kind of freaking out when the Bulls drafted him, but he's showing you why he was a sixth man of the year in the ACC. Kobe White and also Zach LaVine, they're doing their thing. Laurie, I'm a little worried about. So what are your realistic expectations for the Bulls this year?
In general, as a Bulls fan, doesn't the aura, doesn't the feeling feel so different this season?
Yes, it does.
Nice. It's this team may not be great. They really may not be. I think Kobe White will make another step. I think Williams look good, but expect him to lose minutes because he can't guard his position. Right. And if you can't guard in this league, you really can't play. It really does come down to the NBA. I don't know. I have fun expectations. I'm curious to see the way Billy Donovan, who is he's very good at teaching. So he's going to build them. I'm curious the type of style offense they're going to build together and grow with. I'm curious to see Wendell Carter Jr. get involved in an offense because I think he's talented and we have not seen any of it. I'm with you. Laurie's target arrows pointing down. Well, he's got to prove it to us to bring it back up, in my opinion, and to the league. So like ESPN does like their top 100 players, and he wasn't even 100. Like he was not in the top 100. I think Zach LaVine he's to me has something to prove as well as becoming a winning player. I think he's a fantastic offensive player. I think he is fun to watch. He works his ass off. He does a lot of things down the stretch that aren't winning plays, and I think he's aware of it. He seems like a super self-aware person. So if he can make steps, again, he's like, what, 20, 26, 25? He's so much younger than people realize. This team could be fun to watch. They really could. And in the East, they could be fighting for a top, like they could either be like fighting for like a 7-8 seed, or they could be a 10-11 seed. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that there's potential for this team to be a fun watch.
Eric Ostrowski, producer at ESPN Radio 1000 in Chicago, your new radio home for the Chicago White Sox, is joining us right here on Second City Sports, along with Lakeena and McGee. I am Sidney Brown. Eric, let's stay with the Bulls for just a moment. Of course, they have new head coach Billy Donovan, along with Chicago's very own assistant head coach, Hall of Famer Maurice Cheeks. What do you think those two gentlemen will bring to this young squad this year? What kind of impact do you think they'll have this year on this young squad?
Absolutely. I think Billy Donovan could have very easily won Coach of the Year last year. He got thrust into the NBA in, other than maybe this Nets situation right now, the hardest locker room situation. It was a disgruntled KD and a Russell Westbrook, Russell Westbrook is a very difficult human being. It was a very different, hard place to get into, especially someone who has been always a teacher and a mentor and like a very he's kind of like fatherly, not like demeaning to people, but he always is like looking over people and is that caring guy. That's kind of what his MO is in the locker room. And that locker room didn't need that. So like he was thrust into a weird position. And then once that team became like got rid of and it's changed, and look what they did last year when it came down to actually coaching and teaching like young kids and integrating Chris Paul into this offense. What he did with that team, I thought that he could have won Coach of the Year, and I think that's what we can expect more of. I expect a little bit more tempo. I expect Kobe White to be in space more. I expect maybe Lauri Markkanen to be taking shots from the floor where he likes to take shots from, because I don't think he's been doing that for the last 2 years. So I think the communication between him and players is what he excels in. So I think he's going to put, and Mo Cheeks are going to put these guys into positions that they want to be in.
Okay, let's go to the gridiron for a second. Let's on the college gridiron. I know you guys are the home for Notre Dame football and basketball. We'll talk about college hoops in a little bit, but do you see the Notre Dame, the football team I'm talking about, against Clemson for the ACC title game? No matter what happens, should they lose, or lose handily, do you think this will, cost them a spot in the playoff?
I mean, unless they're absolutely, like, I guess it would have to be a terrible beating. I think they're in. Like, unless it's like 45-10 or something like that, and it's just from jump, it's not even a game. And like clear was Trevor Lawrence was the difference, because that was the difference in the first game,
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I think Notre Dame's in. I think they've proven it. I think they've played well enough. I think they have a good shot of being in the playoffs. We'll see what they do in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, that's the question.
Let's stay locally in college football. Eric, of course, the Northwestern Wildcats will face the Ohio State Buckeyes for the Big Ten title in Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday. Of course, 2 years ago, it was a close contest, and Ohio State pulled away in the fourth quarter. Do you see that same scenario playing out again this weekend, or do you see Ohio State making a big statement from start to finish?
I think this Ohio State team knows they need to make the big statement, especially with being allowed in, basically, with the way they are. I also think Justin Fields has been one of the best college football players this year. My money's on him. My money's on that Buckeye team. I think they win very comfortably.
All right, staying in college football locally, let's go about 3 hours south in Illinois. Lovie Smith has been let go by Illinois. Now, A, were you surprised by that? And B, who are names that you thinking that could probably fill that job?
So I guess the timing of it I was surprised by, but when you actually see, if it happened in the off season, I would not have been surprised. So I guess I was just surprised at the timing of it. when it comes to people that need to come in and like potential guys to come in, it needs to be somebody. Like I honestly like the Bielema. There's a lot of talk about Bielema as well because he's recruited this area.
Yep.
The Illini, like Lovey doesn't even know a lot of that like top head coaches, like high school coaches. He doesn't even know like who they are. He has not made the circuit in the city, in this state at all. Like, and this state has good high school football. Like we have good football players.
Oh yeah.
And if by not being able to recruit in the state, it's really hurt them. And I think someone who is willing to and has roots here, I think is good. And Bielema is a little bit of a jerk. If you didn't know that, like he's supposed to be a little bit of an asshole.
I've heard. Yeah.
He's recruited the area. He's recruited Wisconsin. He's recruited the area, and he's recruited it well. So like I would lean towards that, but then always names pop up.
All right, we're heading down the home stretch with Eric Ostrowski, producer at ESPN 1000 in Chicago, right here on the weekend edition of Second City Sports. Eric, last question from me. Let's go to your career. As I mentioned in the intro, you were an instructor at Illinois Media School. Of course, people who don't know your story, people think, okay, you were an instructor. You just so happened to appear on ESPN 1000 one day, living out many people's dream jobs. How did you start off in the business?
Yeah, that's fair. So I'll go back to I went to school at Illinois State University, got a journalism degree, but when I was there, I didn't apply myself. I didn't work for the newspaper. I didn't work for the radio station. I did nothing all that. I just literally got my piece of paper. I left and I came home and I started remodeling houses with my uncle. My uncle's a general contractor, and I started doing that with him. And I did it with him for 2 years, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I have ambitions. I want things. I went to school to do this thing. What am I doing? So I actually looked up the school. I looked up, at the time, it was Illinois Center for Broadcasting. I think I even heard the ads on the Score or on ESPN, one of the two. I heard the ads. So I went in, got to visit, and I was like, all right, my point of going to this school is to get an internship in the city. I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go to the schools, I'm gonna do fine in the classes, but my goal is to network myself in the city. Get some jobs, get some internships in the city, and then I'll let my work ethic and my ability to build relationships go from there. So then when we were going to school, and two of my teachers, as Lakeena knows, are Chris Black and Adam Abdallah. So they were our teachers at the time, and if you don't know, they work at ESPN now. Now, they're good friends of mine. I produced their show. So I actually walked up to them one day and I was like, hey, how do I get my resume for the internship from the stack of 150 pages to the stack of 10? That's literally I'm like, how do I get it from the big stack to the little stack? And Adam just goes, hold on, man, I'll help you out. Came back the next day and he's like, hey, email Randy Merkins, his name. He emails the assistant program director. He's expecting your email. So
he's a great guy.
I got it because of the relationship that I built again with my teachers by how I worked and just my interactions with them and stuff like that, and showing my capability. They were comfortable in bringing me literally to their building to internship. So they went and told their boss that, hey, this guy needs bring him in. So I came in and same thing. I interned and I did that, and I just worked hard, got my hands on everything I could. When school ended at the media school, they didn't have any openings. So I went and I started working at Will Rock. It's in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's a heavy metal station. Honestly, it is a unique radio station. It's owned and ran by two high school buddies. They got an investor to help them buy a tower, and it's literally just friends, and it's this small little family knit thing. It's actually a super cool community. The people that listen and follow, it's a lot of fun. So it was a fun first job. I was just doing promotions in that, and then they voice tracked stuff in the evenings, and I just kind of sent the guy a dummy one, hey, someone's ever out, this is what I can do. So I was only there for 7 months, but the last 3 months I was voice tracking on the weekend. So I was doing heavy metal, which is not, I like most brands of music. I will say heavy metal is not one of the ones I like. So I just did a lot of research to make it about sevenfold and such. And then I moved to another, so that's kind of far from where I live. So then I moved to another top 40 music station that lived right in my area. All along, just keeping in touch with that one boss at ESPN. I would literally once a month email him. Hey, what's going on? Just checking in, seeing if there's any openings. That was it. Every time it was just 3 sentences. And then finally, I don't know, maybe a year and a half after the internship ended, and I was just working at these FM stations doing promotions and voice tracking. I never had ambitions to be a DJ for a music station. I honestly don't even have ambitions to host. Like, I love producing and production work and imaging and stuff like that. So that's where engineering, I focus myself on that. But finally, after a long time, Randy answered to one of those emails. Yes, can you come in this day next week? And I was like, ah. I was actually at another radio station when I got that email and like walked outside and like jumped up and down. Like, I was so pumped. So I went in and basically after a quick couple of interviews, I got like an interview or two. I got offered the job, and I've been producing there for 6.5, almost 7 years now, which is crazy to think.
I love it. Love the perseverance. And
But one thing Randy said, this was a tip. Like, Randy is the boss that originally got me the internship and then I kept in touch with and then hired me, is he said I did a good job keeping in touch and keeping relevant without being annoying. He's like, trust me, there's a lot of annoying people. He's like, you were brief, you had kind of a schedule when it would come. He was like, you did a very good job on staying in touch and relevant but not being annoying. So it was just, I didn't want to work his ear off. Just, hey, what's up? I'm here. Let me know.
love it. Love it. And I'm proud to say, look, I've seen Eric's work ethic, so he definitely deserves all the success he's been getting so far over at ESPN 1000. And also some of the big things that got coming up. You've got the White Sox now. Can you tell us like some other things you guys have coming up on the station?
Yeah, so like we have, it's over now, but if you're a fan of our station, right around this time of year, we do this parody contest, which is so fun. People have Christmas songs, but they make up their own words to sports stuff or station relevant stuff. And as much of a hassle it is going through all the submissions that come in, because like we kind of, as producers, we all tag team it because it's a massive task.
Yeah.
It's so fun and the content's great. And we're actually announcing the winner Monday. So if you want to tune into that on Monday, it's always fun. And the people will be coming on and they have to sing it live and stuff like that. Normally we do like a big event at a bar, but it's literally going to be on Zoom, where somehow our engineers figured out how to attach the Zoom with the guys to our board so we can broadcast the Zoom from our board over this. It's pretty fun. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, yeah, we got the White Sox. We have like we'll have more White Sox content coming out. We're going to have like weekly shows with that. Stand by with more gambling stuff coming. Like, we're kind of leaning heavy on the gambling stuff. So we have like a couple more gambling things coming down the line. Other than that, it's yelling about Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy.
I love it.
I promise, Eric, this is the last question for me. Speaking of contests, of course, you're referencing the Waddle and Sylvie show, of course, with Mark Silverman and Tom Waddle. Of course, congratulations to Mark Silverman. He's cancer-free. I know the Sylvie Strong T-shirts have been selling through the roof. Is benefiting the Jimmy V Foundation. If I'm correct on that. But right. one of your coworkers that you produced that night, Adam Abdallah, he had to eat a worm as part of a bet. Explain to us about that. I found it to be hilarious and grossed out at the same time. Lakeena's up there grossly watching us on our YouTube stream.
I can only imagine what Adam was going through.
He really didn't even lose a bet. It just came up in conversation because that's how they are about eating a worm. And Waddle asked Chris and Adam if they would, and Adam's like, yeah. So the next day, Waddle came with bait from me when he went to a bait shop and came with a tub of earthworms. And he literally, this is like, so Abdallah's like, all right, for every third of a worm I eat, you pay me $20. So he washed off the worms, and Abdallah made $180 because he ate so many worms. But yeah, he would eat them and let them slide down. It was hilarious. But he didn't even lose a bet. It was just, yeah, entertain me. I have some money. Eat these worms is what it came down to.
Oh, God. That doesn't shock me about Adam. That does not shock me at all. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Well, Eric, this has been so much fun. We got to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
And
Feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and tell Chris and Adam I said hello, and I still listen to him all the time, and I hope Adam's tummy still is feeling okay after that worm yesterday. My gosh. where the people can find you on the social media?
Yeah, the one that I'm most active on is 312. And actually, funny, the 312 is not a Chicago thing. Like, I made it before I lived in Chicago. It was just my two numbers that I wore as a kid as an athlete. So that's kind of funny now that I've worked in the city for like 10 years. But yes, Eric O 312. Follow me, DM me. My DMs are open. Whatever, hit me up.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Eric, for joining us here today. It's been our pleasure to have you on our program today. P.S. Tell Randy Merkin that I said hello as well. And tell your program director, Mike Thomas, when things get back to normal, stick our program after Chauncey's outdoors on Saturday mornings.
just
Thanks again for joining us, my man.
Thank you,
You
Eric.
bet,
Love
guys.
you,
It was
buddy.
great. Thank you.
All right, Eric, take care, man.
All right.
Cool, guys. You have a good day. It was
You guys
fun. Thank you. And
all right.
feel free. Reach out. Okay?
Stay safe.
All right.
You guys
Will
stay
do.
safe.
Always.
And happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Wasn't that fun, Lakeena? Wasn't that a great surprise?
Well played. Like I said before, I'm proud to have known Eric. We were at IMS, and it's like I see him doing good things. So I'm very happy for him and his growing family. So happy all around.
Yes. Let's close this great episode out.
All right.
Where can people find you on the Twitter?
Well, I'm like Eric. I'm right here. I'm most active on Twitter, but I am getting more active on the others too. So at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, along with our other podcast programming from War Media, by simply downloading War on Anchor. Search for War on Anchor wherever you download your podcast, including that iHeartRadio app. Just search for War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. You can go to our website, weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com. And we're also on the Tube, aka YouTube, at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can not only listen to us, but you can watch us live. Here we are.
All right, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, get those likes up, get them up,
Yes.
and also the views too. So for Sid, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you Monday.
See you next time. Holla!